Hi, this is Professor Salazar, and today I'm going to be showing you a security information and event management tool called Wazuh, Wazuh. All right, so uh, before we get started, I just want to talk about how important it is to install, uh, configure, and administer a tool like Wazuh. Wazuh can be found in any security operations center. And it's basically used to monitor for any intrusions. It's also used to monitor any computers that you would like on your network uh, that may have, for example, some type of misconfiguration on it, may have been part of a hack, may have been part of some malware. If you want to secure your network, I would advise to install a SIEM tool just like Wazuh. Now, there are other SIEMs out there that have a lot more features and functionality. For example, IBM has one called QRadar. There's another popular SIEM tool called Splunk. Uh, and the list goes on and on. AT&T has one, I believe, called Alien Vault. But Wazuh is free and anybody can do this. Anybody can install a SIEM. And if you have like a home lab environment, this would be great to run it in a home lab so you can get familiar with how a SIEM is used to protect your network and to secure it and to monitor for any types of intrusion or malicious things happening on your network. All right, so first things first, I'm going to start by sharing my screen. All right. And I'm actually going to open up my second desktop here, and I'm going to go to uh, this website called wazuh.com. All right. So it says here that this is the open source security platform, a unified XDR and SIEM protection for endpoints and cloud workloads. It shows you how you can install Wazuh, and it shows you that you can have a free cloud trial. And this is what the SIEM actually looks like. Once you have it installed and up and running on a computer, you can use it to monitor other computers and devices that are on your network. And the cool thing about this is that, let's say, for example, there's an invalid login attempt on one of your computers on your network. Well, this tool is going to tell you about it. If somebody changed something within a file or a folder, this tool is going to tell you about it. If, for example, somebody broke into the network and, for example, is introducing something malicious on your network, this tool is going to tell you about it. So every single thing that happens on the computers that you're monitoring, this tool is actually going to tell you about it. All right. It's going to keep track, sort of like a log. It's going to keep a record of every single thing that's happening on your network. All right. So if you scroll down, they kind of show you it has an active XDR protection for modern threats. It's a comprehensive SIEM solution. And you can basically use it to correlate all of that data into one place, as opposed to uh, monitoring computers one by one, or as opposed to protecting your computers at the surface level, where you may be concerned with updates, you may be concerned with weak passwords, or if a firewall is on or off, or if you have anti-malware running on your computer. Uh, at this level, when you have a SIEM solution installed on your network, it's basically doing the job for you when it comes to monitoring. All you have to do is just look at the records and look at the logs to see what it actually picked up. What I'm going to show you today is that you can actually install this on any Linux computer, or you can install this on a Linux computer running in the cloud. The benefits of running something in the cloud is that you wouldn't have to be confined to a local area network where all of your computers are running. If you have a Wazuh server running in the cloud, then this Wazuh SIEM can connect any devices to it, and it doesn't matter whether they're on your local area network or not. I could even connect my Windows computer at home. I can connect a Linux computer at work. Like wherever you are, you can connect these agents to the Wazuh SIEM, and it'll constantly be monitoring these devices that are connected, right? So I'm going to kind of show you that in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start to get everything ready so I can show you how it works. And if you give me a few seconds, I'll get everything going. Okay, so it looks like I have my machine up and running. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Now that I showed you the website, I'm going to go to another website where I can set up a Wazuh machine. And that is on a website called linode.com. And I'm going to log into this website. So Linode is a cloud provider that can provide machines that can run in the cloud, and all you have to do is remote into them. I have a Linode Linux computer that's running the Beef software, and I also have a Linode running VS Code so that I can use different types of coding languages and run all of my codes in the cloud. What I'm going to do is go to the marketplace, and I'm going to search for something called Wazuh. And here it is. I'm going to go down and enter my email address. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and put in Mr. Salazar. I'm going to set up a limited sudo user. I'm not going to disable root access over SSH because that's what I'm going to use in order to install this. I'm going to select the region that's closest to me. I'm going to select an Ubuntu server, an Ubuntu 22 LTS long-term support. I'm going to set up a shared CPU running at least 2 gigabytes of memory. And you'll notice here that this is going to cost me at least $12 a month. And down here, I'm going to set up a root password. And down here, I'm just going to click on create. So I'm waiting for this to complete the provisioning phase. And as soon as this light turns green, I'll be able to use SSH so that I can remote into the Linux computer that's going to run Wazuh. All right. So I'll also be working with a tool called Docker so that I can install it as a microservice on my Linux computer. And after that, I'll be able to just launch a website so that I can remote in. And I can start setting up the Wazuh system, and that I can also, after that's done, I can turn on any computer and install the Wazuh agent on it so that it can be set up for monitoring. Okay, so right here it turned green and it says that it's running. If I open up my terminal, I can try to first ping this public IP address of my computer right now, just to make sure that it's actually running in the cloud right now. I could try typing in ping 45.33.114.158, and I'm going to type in a -C followed by 5. I wanted to ping 5 times with a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just pinged 5 times. So it should be up and running, and this computer should be online right now. Next, I'm going to grab this SSH command and I'm going to type it in so that I can remote into the machine. I'm going to type in SSH root at 45.33.114.158. And it's asking me if I want to continue. I'm going to type yes. And it's asking me for my super secret password that I just set up. And now I'm logged in remotely to my Linode Linux computer that's running in the cloud. Okay. So there's a few things that I would recommend doing if you're going to set up a cloud computer like this. One of them is to always check for updates and install updates. Check for the IP address, check for the name. You could do that by typing in host name and it's going to show you localhost, or you can type in uname and it's going to show you that you're on a Linux computer. Like right now, physically, I'm on a Mac, but I'm remoting in to a Linux computer that's running in the cloud. You could also type in uname space -a and it'll give you more details as to the version of the operating system that you're actually running. In order to check for updates on my computer, I'm also going to type in apt update. It's just going to run through some updates. I have 37 packages that need to be upgraded, so I'm going to type in apt upgrade space -y. And it looks like it cannot grab those updates just yet. So it could be that it's actually trying to update these processes in the background. So I just kind of have to be patient and wait. I'll do a Control-C to stop that for right now. Since I just provisioned the system to load, it could take a while for it to be ready to actually download those 37 packages or to upgrade them. But if you're trying this at home and you're following me on this video, you want to make sure that you're running at least an Ubuntu Linux version 22 or higher. You also want to make sure that if you're going to be running this in the cloud, then you want to have at least 2 gigabytes of memory. And if you're going to do that on Linode, it will cost you at least $12 a month in order to do this. My plan is to not set this up to be paying $12 a month every month. My plan is to just show you how to do this and then, bring the machine down if I need to. I don't need to be paying $12 a month every month just to have this Wazuh SIEM up and running. Now, if you are going to be using it and you're going to be monitoring other computers, I would suggest doing it this way. I would definitely suggest using a free tool and installing Wazuh on a computer. Now, it doesn't have to be in the cloud. The better and cheaper option would be to set up a virtual machine running on your local area network. So you don't have to run Wazuh in the cloud. I'm just doing it just to show you that it can be done. When you're running a system in the cloud like this, like on Linode, you would have to set up at least 2 gigabytes of RAM in order for this to work properly. So I'm going to check for the upgrade again and see if I can upgrade. And it says that everything's already upgraded, so I don't need to do apt upgrade -y. All right. The next thing that I'm going to want to do, and this might be for later, by the way, but if I click on network on the network tab, and if I scroll down a little bit, I'm going to want to make note of this reverse DNS server. The reverse DNS address. I'm going to want that address because later I'll be connecting through a website with that reverse DNS address. Okay. The next thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to install Docker on my Linux computer that I'm remoting into right now. So let me go ahead and maybe I'm trying to make this bigger, but let me go ahead and do this. I'm just going to stretch out this window a little bit. I'm going to clear the screen and I'm going to type in this command in order to install Docker. I'm going to type in apt install docker.io space docker-compose space -y. Now this is installing two tools right here. You're installing Docker and you're installing Docker Compose. So it's going through that update and it's installing Docker Compose and Docker. If it asks you about a new kernel version, you always want to be up to date with everything. It says that you should consider rebooting, but I'll go ahead and do this after this lab is over. I'll click OK. It asks me which services should be restarted. I'm just going to tab over and click OK. And it's done installing Docker and Docker Compose. Now remember, I'm only installing Docker and Docker Compose so that I can run Wazuh as a microservice on my Linux computer. So the next step is to deploy a single node of Wazuh with the following command. It's going to be apt install git. And by the way, git is already installed, so I didn't need to do that one. But the next command would be git clone https://github.com/wazuh-docker.git space -b space 4.4.5. Okay. Git clone https://github.com/wazuh-docker.git space -b space 4.4.5. And this is actually just going to clone the repository. Now let me go back and check. I may have misspelled something on my commands. Let me make sure that I copied this down correctly. I'm not sure if I typed it correctly or not, but let me try again. Git clone https://github.com/wazuh-docker.git space -b space 4.4.5. And let's see why it cannot clone into Docker. Oh, all right. I'm going to go ahead and pause this right now. And let's see if I can get back in it real quick. Okay. It looks like I'm still recording, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. All right, so let's see if I can continue this install. I'm going to type git. Oh, it looks like I lost connection. So I'm going to go back. I'll grab my IP address again so I can remote in. It's asking me for my password. Now let me type in git clone https://github.com/wazuh-docker.git space -b space v 4.4.5. I had mistakenly left out the v for version at the end of that. So I'm just correcting my command. And now I'm cloning that repository onto my computer. So once I'm done with that, it's actually going to show me a new folder. And if I type in ls, I'll see that I have a new folder called Wazuh-Docker. So I'm going to navigate into that folder by typing in cd Wazuh-Docker. And if I do ls right here to list the contents of my directory, I see that I have another folder in here called single node. So I'm going to navigate into that folder called single node by typing in cd or change directory space single node. And if I do ls right here, I have a lot of different files in here and folders. You'll see that I have a config folder. I have a Docker compose YML file. I have a generate indexers file. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to see if I can get the desired certificates for Wazuh by typing this command, docker-compose space -f space generate -indexer -certs .yml space run space --rm space generator. Okay. Let me repeat this command. Docker-compose space -f space generate -indexer -certs .yml space run space --rm space generator. And what this is going to do is going to execute the command so that I can get the desired certificates. All right. And it shows that it's done. And the next step is to turn on my Docker container by typing in docker-compose space up space -d. Now, this is how you would turn on any Docker container, but this is the one that I'm running right now, and it's running a single node of Wazuh. You'll see that it's extracting, the pull is complete, the download is complete, and I just need to wait for this to finish. Okay, it's almost complete. Okay. It's pulling the Wazuh indexer, the Wazuh dashboard, and I believe there's one more after this. Oh, the Wazuh manager, it already completed those. So the Wazuh dashboard is the last thing that it needs to set up. And it shows done, done, and done down at the bottom. So this thing is ready for me to log into. The next step is to grab my reverse DNS address. So if I go to that network tab, I'm going to grab the reverse DNS address right here. I'm just going to copy this into my browser. And I'm going to type in Control-V to paste. And it says that the site can't be reached or it's not secure. But I'm going to click on Details. And I'm going to see if I can actually connect to this address. It looks like because I'm using the Brave browser that it's not able to. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull up another browser and see if I can connect to it. I'm thinking that it's just because it's using the Brave browser that Brave recognizes that you're trying to log in to an insecure site and that the certificates may be invalid or missing, which is why it won't be able to connect. but I'm going to try again with another browser. This time I'm trying Microsoft Edge running on my Mac. And let me do this. I'm going to go back and I'm going to share my screen. And I want to make sure that I have the right reverse DNS before I do this. So I'm going to copy this again. And here I am on my Edge browser. And I'm going to type it in here. And it still says that it's not able to connect. But, you know, it does take time for this to load. It's not something that can be done like right away sometimes. So sometimes you kind of just have to wait for this to finish loading. Another thing that can be done is if you've already followed all of those steps, you can at least see what Docker containers are actually running by typing in the command docker stats. And if you type in Docker stats, you'll see that I have 3 Docker containers running. One of them is a Wazuh dashboard, another one is a Wazuh indexer, and another one is a Wazuh manager. Okay, so I know for sure that they're up and running. There's no reason that I wouldn't be able to connect to this thing, other than the IP address not being correct, or it could be that it's just taking its time. Another thing that I can try is by adding HTTPS at the beginning, because it might not actually know that I'm trying to connect to it through the HTTPS protocol. So I'm going to type in HTTPS://, and there it is. Okay, so it worked. And it's going to show me that the connection is in private. So I'm going to click on advanced, and then I'm going to click continue. And here is Wazuh running on my Linux computer in the cloud right now. I'm going to log in with the username admin, and I'm going to log in with a default password that was set up for me. And the default password is secret password, capital S in secret and capital P in password. And I believe that's the default password. You can actually go into the configuration file and make changes to that default password. So it doesn't always have to be that. Once I hit login, it actually logs me into the Wazuh dashboard. And this just takes a few seconds for it to load. And once the SIEM is up and running, I can start adding agents to it. So this is the Wazuh SIEM that is loaded. And think of this as a computer that you might have in a real SOC environment, a security operations center, where it's up and running and it's constantly monitoring other computers that are on your network. Right now, it's not monitoring any computers, but all I have to do is click on this add agent icon, and I can deploy any of these types of computers to my Wazuh SIEM, and it'll constantly be monitoring those computers. So I'm going to take a look and see what I have available. While I started the recording of this video, I was downloading UTM. I was downloading an Ubuntu machine, but for some reason it wouldn't finish downloading. I have a Parrot Security Linux that is up and running. I also have, under VMware Fusion, I also have a Kali Linux that's up and running. And let me see what I can use for right now. If I go back, let's see, I can add Ubuntu, Windows, Mac OS. I'm going to see, or I can also click on show more, and it'll show me that I can add Alpine Linux, Amazon Linux, Debian, Fedora, Raspberry Pi. The list goes on and on. Like, there's a lot of different types of systems that you can actually use here. I'll try Kali out for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Kali Linux virtual machine that's running on VMware. And I'm just going to load this for right now. And in a little bit, I'm going to launch some commands in it. Let's see, let me go back in and let me try to remote in. Or I'm sorry, not remote in, but let me try logging in. All right, here's my Kali Linux virtual machine that's running on my Mac. I'm going to go back to the Edge browser and I'm going to select Debian. I'm going to choose Debian 9X, and this is going to be a AArch64 because my Kali Linux is actually loaded on my MacBook Pro that's running a M3 silicon, Apple Silicon chip, which is basically an ARM processor on my Mac computer. The Wazuh address is a fully qualified domain name. And here I'm just going to use my public IP address. So let me go ahead and grab my public IP. I'm going to copy it here, 45.33.114.158. Let me plug that in as my public IP address. The agent name, I'll just call it Kali. The existing group, I'm just going to use it as a default group for right now. And this is the command that I'm going to have to copy and insert into my Kali machine if I want to monitor my Kali machine. Now, I haven't actually installed this before on Kali, so I actually don't know if it's going to work, but it's worth a shot. Let me go ahead and just try copying this entire command and running it on my Kali machine. So I'm going to open up my terminal. And before I do anything, I'm also going to see if I have curl installed. So I'm going to type in sudo apt install curl. I'm going to type in yes to install curl. And it looks like it did not like that install. So it might not actually work right here, but let me see if I can paste this command in. I'm going to type sudo followed by that really long command. Let's see if I can copy it from here. And I don't actually like, I don't like it when I can't copy this in, and I don't like actually copying or doing it by hand, like actually typing all this out. So what I'll do is instead, I'll take my reverse DNS address and I'll log in through from my Kali machine to my Wazuh machine from within Kali. So here's what I'll do next. I'm going to go to Kali. And for some reason, I'm not able to do the updates, but that could be another issue that I might be having. I may want to check if I'm actually online here, maybe doing sudo apt update. Oh, I have 576 packages that need to be upgraded. So I'm going to do sudo apt upgrade space -y. And while that's going, I'm going to go ahead and open up my Firefox browser and go to linode.com. I'm going to log in. And I have a third machine on my list, and now there's one called Wazuh. So here's my public IP address, but I'm going to click on it and go to the network tab so that I can grab my reverse DNS address. I'm just going to copy that. And I'm going to open up a new tab and I'm going to go to that address. It's telling me that there's a security risk. I'm going to click on advanced, and then I'm going to click on accept the risk and continue. And it's admin and secret password. And now I'm logged into my Wazuh. SIEM. I'm going to click on my agents. I'm going to see if I can add a Debian 9 for ARM. My address is 45.33.114.158. You can also add the fully qualified domain name or domain name that you have set up. The agent name is going to be Kali. The group is going to be default. And down here, I'm going to copy this entire, well, not that one, but the first one up here, this curl command. It's still doing updates. So before I actually plug in that command to my terminal, I'm just going to wait to see that all of my updates are downloaded and installed. But it's not easy to actually set up the Wazuh SIEM on your network. Let's say, for example, you have 5 computers on your network that you want to constantly be monitoring for any types of intrusions. Wazuh can take care of all that for you. It can take care of all of the intrusion attempts or anything malicious that might be coming in. This is a type of tool that would be running in a real SOC environment. I'm going to install the curl command by typing in sudo apt install curl. And let's see if I can actually install this. It wouldn't allow me to last time, but it looks like because I was missing some updates, I wasn't able to install curl. While that's going, I'm going to try to make this screen bigger. And now I'm going to plug in that command. Let's see if I can plug it in. If I can't plug it in. Okay, so I'm going to type copy command. I'm going to go to my terminal and I'm going to type in sudo. And then I'm going to right click and see if I can paste the selection. Nope, it won't let me do it. All right, so let me try something else. Let me try copying this. And paste clipboard. There you go. Okay, so here's that entire command that you need to copy and paste into your terminal in order to set up Kali as an agent so that it can be monitored by Wazuh. And let's see if it worked. I don't actually know if it did work already, but there are 3 commands that I still need to do in order to reload the Wazuh agent. And let me do those last 3 commands. Go here. And let me do this. Sudo systemctl daemon-reload. Sudo systemctl enable Wazuh-agent. And sudo systemctl start Wazuh-agent. Okay, so assuming I did this correctly, I should be able to go back to my Wazuh and see if it actually, this is not working in Brave, but I'm going to go to Microsoft Edge. I should go back to the dashboard like here, like if I click on home, I should see that now I have a total of 1 agent that's now being monitored. And this is a really cool thing because this is actually the first time that I get this working on using Kali as an agent. I'm going to click on this number 1. And here is my Kali Linux machine that's being monitored right now by Wazuh. So if I click on this, it's showing me a MITRE attack framework. It's also showing me some compliance. It's showing me some events that might have happened, and nothing has actually happened on the machine as of yet. But if I click on security events up at the top for my Kali machine, I'll see that there have been a total of 44 events. level 12 or above alerts show 0, authentication failure shows 0, and authentication success shows 0, which basically means that as of me monitoring the Kali machine through Wazuh, there have not been any failed login attempts or successful login attempts. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to log out of Kali and try to log back in incorrectly. Or should I say, I'm going to do a failed login attempt. Then I'm going to come back to Wazuh and see if it caught the failed login attempt. So let me go to my Kali machine. And I'm just going to close everything out. And I'm going to log out of it. Okay. So I'll actually restart the machine to see. Actually, I don't think I need to restart this. It's always a good idea to restart the machine, especially if you might have missed some updates or you might have grabbed some other updates. I don't think it would be that bad to actually restart it. So I'm going to go ahead and click restart. Okay. So here's my Kali Linux virtual machine. And now this time I'm going to use my username as user01, but I'm going to use a password that's incorrect. Remember, I'm trying to generate an invalid login attempt here so that just to see if Wazuh is actually is able to catch that. I'm going to type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as my password, which is basically it's not that. I'm trying to log in and it says your password is incorrect. Please try again. So right there, that's one invalid login attempt. Okay. If I go to my Wazuh SIEM, the Wazuh SIEM should have been able to catch that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to refresh this to see if it actually caught it. Okay. I'm going to go home. It shows that there's one active agent. I'm going to click on that one active agent. I'm going to click on my Kali Linux machine that's being monitored. I'm going to go to my security events. And it still shows that there are 0, but let me see if I can click refresh over here up at the top. And it still doesn't show anything, but let me see if I can scroll down and maybe spot something else that might have happened here. What should have happened is there should have been one authentication failure or authentication success. Now, I can go back and try to log out again and log in. I'll try to do that right here. Let me type in again. Let me type in password as my password. It's going to say that it's incorrect. So I'm going to go back to my Wazuh, see if I can refresh this screen, or maybe go home, click on my active agents, click on my Kali Linux machine. You'll see that there's the status. It shows my IP address. There's no doubt that I'm on my Kali machine right now. And let me click on security events. And it still doesn't show anything. Now, that's pretty common to see if you're using the cloud. Chances are it's not going to pick up everything right away. You may have to give it some time to actually load. But when it comes to security events, I should be able to see that I was trying to log in and it failed. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to log in successfully. And I'm going to see if I can run those 3 commands again in order to reload the Wazuh service. So let me first let me first do this. I'm going to try to go back to Wazuh. And I'm not going to actually install another agent. If I wanted to install another agent, I would just do something like this. I would click on the dashboard. Oh, I'll try calling home. It's showing me that there's a total of 1 agent. I could try going to management. I could try going to agents. And you see here where it says deploy new agent. I'm going to click on that. Now remember, there is a command that I can run here to reload the Wazuh agent. Now here I selected Debian, Arch 64. And here are the three commands that I'm going to use within my Kali machine to see if I just need to reload it. It's sudo system control daemon-reload. I'll go here, sudo system control daemon-reload. Sudo systemctl I believe it's restart. Let me go back and check. Enable Wazuh-agent. And the last one is sudo systemctl start Wazuh-agent. Okay, so it should be ready to go now. Now, if I go back to my Wazuh SIEM, if I go back home and check for my active connections, it's showing me Kali. And if I click on security events, it still shows 0. I'm going to see if I can refresh it again. It's nothing is showing, but this time when I use Kali, I'm just going to go ahead and log off this time. So I'm going to click on the power button, log out, and I'm going to try to log in again. So I'm going to try user01 with the password 12345. Now I know that this is incorrect. And when I click log in, it shows me that the password is incorrect. Please try again. If you're using Wazuh as a SIEM and you're constantly monitoring this Kali computer, the Wazuh should be able to pick up that security event and tell you that somebody tried to log in and the attempt was invalid, or there was a failed attempt. So I'm going to go back here and see if I can refresh. Nothing is actually shown just yet. But like I said, it does take time for this thing to actually detect things. It's not like something that it can be done right away here. All right. So let me do this. Let me scroll down and let me see if I can find any different types of events happening. If I click on the first one, which says host-based anomaly detection event occurred. I see a lot of these that came up. There was a detection, a defense evasion, which says Wazuh agent stopped and then it was started. Well, basically this tells me that I restarted the machine, because if what the Wazuh agent stopped and then it started, well, that basically tells me the machine shut down and then it came up again. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that defense evasion and let's see what comes up. And if I scroll down, I see a lot of different things that are coming up here as far as the details go. All I see is that the Wazuh agent stopped. The manager stopped as well. If I scroll up, I see a lot of host-based anomaly detection. And as a cybersecurity professional, you may want to be familiar with all of this stuff, like the tools, the details. Being able to read logs is really important. I myself do not know all of the log activity or actually how to read everything, but I do know that being able to read this is really important for a security professional, especially if you're going to be working in a real SOC environment like this. Let me go ahead and refresh again. So it never actually caught that invalid login attempt, which kind of concerns me right there. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to change something within Kali. Okay, so I'm going to log in successfully here. And this time I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to change some permissions on the file. And I'm going to see if Wazuh can actually pick that up. So I'm in my terminal within Kali. And let's say, for example, I do ls and see everything that's on there. You'll see here's the agents that I set up on it. If I type in, for example, sudo nano I'm thinking of a name of a file that I can use. I'm going to type in sudo nano file1.sh. I'm just creating a file called file1.sh. And I'm using the .sh at the end because this is going to be a bash script. And every bash script contains a shebang up on top. The shebang is the hashtag !bin/bash. Now here I'm just going to do something really easy, and I'm going to type in echo hello world in double quotes. So when I actually run this bash script, it's just going to reply back saying hello world. So I'm going to do Control X, Y, and enter to save it. If I do ls again, I'll see that I have a file1.sh. If I do ls space -l on file1.sh, I'll see the permissions on it. I misspelled it, sorry. File1.sh. I'll see the permissions here for file1.sh. And right now I have the read-write permission, the read permission, and the read permission. So the read-write permission is for the owner. The read permission is for the group, and the last read permission is for everyone else who's not the owner and not part of the group. I'm going to make a change to those permissions by typing in sudo chmod space 777 space the file name on file1.sh. Now, chmod 777 is basically going to change the mode. It's going to change the permissions on this file to read, write, execute. And I use 777 for that to show that the read permission is a 4, the write permission is a 2, and the execute permission is a 1. So 4 plus 2 plus 1 equals 7. That's why I have 7 for the owner, 7 for the group, and 7 for everyone else. I'm basically changing these permissions to read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Now, if I type in ls space -l on file1.sh, I'll see that I have read, write, execute, read, write, execute, and read, write, execute. Now that I made those changes, or should I say, now that I made those permission changes to this file, I should be able to execute it by typing in /file1.sh. And it shows me what I wrote in there as echo. I typed in echo hello world, and it showed me hello world right there. I basically ran that as an executable file. I executed my bash script. Okay. Now, if I go to my Wazuh SIEM and I refresh this, it should have caught that I actually made changes on those permissions of that file. So I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to go to my active agents, and I'm going to go to Kali. And if I click on the security events up on top, I still don't see the authentication failures, but that's okay. I'm going to scroll down and see if it actually caught the permission changes. It doesn't actually show that it caught the permission changes, but that could be because it just takes a while for it to load. It's not going to do it like right away. But if you ever make changes to something on an agent computer, then the SIEM will actually pick it up. And my apologies for it not showing right now. It just could take a while. It could be also that I may have to change the dates as to when it was actually recording something. But the events should actually show anything that actually changes here. So it actually showed down here that I restarted. Somewhere around here, it should have shown that there was an invalid login attempt, but it can also pick up that I actually changed the permissions on that file. So when the permissions are changed on that file, that's a really big issue that might come up. It might be that a hacker may be trying to change permissions on a file or a folder just so they can access it. They might actually type in sudo or act as root in order to make changes to a file. They may actually do some type of a cyber attack called Linux privilege escalation. Or basically that just means jumping from one account to another to perform some action that your regular ordinary user might not have access to, but someone with higher level of privileges might have access to make changes to things, right? So all of that can actually be monitored using Wazuh. And I'm actually just going to go back one more time and see if it actually did it. See if it actually caught that as a security event. I'm guessing that it's not going to do that right now. Like, even though I'm refreshing like crazy over here. But this is how you would use Wazuh, like in a real environment. I'm basically on my Kali Linux virtual machine. I basically have this set up as a desktop environment that I want to use it for learning about cybersecurity. But I also have an agent set up on it so that the Wazuh SIEM can monitor this computer every single minute of the day to see if there's any changes on it. If I was monitoring a Windows computer, I would be able to tell if some registry changes were made, if somebody was trying to log in unsuccessfully or successfully. I may be able to see if passwords were changed or if somebody tried to install malware on the machine, or if there was some type of port that was open for different types of communication. I would be able to see all of that using Wazuh. All right. So even though I wasn't able to load everything here. And you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe it could be that that the time changed on it, or it's not actually syncing with my time on my computer. But that's for another day. I'll definitely check that out later on and see why I wasn't able to pick up those things. There's also ways that you can set up Wazuh to check for a vulnerability assessment, like just have it running and scanning for vulnerabilities. Kind of like if you were to set up a vulnerability scanner like OpenVAS, or if you were to use Nessus vulnerability scanner, you could be able to install a vulnerability scanner right here within Wazuh as well. So I think that's a pretty cool thing that you can have on here. If you're concerned about the top 5 PCI DSS requirements, it'll go and give you an assessment as to the vulnerabilities that it might have, or any top 5 alerts. It can definitely be useful to add a SIEM to your network, especially if you're working in a SOC environment. You want to be able to view your agents, and you want to be able to view what's happening on those agents, not just logging in or logging out. I mean, you really want to be able to monitor what's going on those computers. And like I said, I could have also done this on a Windows machine or on a Mac or on a different type of Linux machine like Ubuntu or Fedora or Arch Linux. It really doesn't matter here. Like, there's different types of options where you can add different software to this, or different virtual machines or physical machines. You can really use this thing to your advantage and see what types of things it actually picks up. You might not be able to see a vulnerability. You may have to run some type of vulnerability scanner within Wazuh that can check for vulnerabilities. Or you might not be able to see some type of intrusion happening in real time, but if you use a SIEM like Wazuh, you might be able to see that. You might not be able to see if somebody changed some permissions around, or if somebody made some registry changes to your machine. But if you use a SIEM, it's constantly monitoring for that particular reason, right? So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. That's what I wanted to show you today. A free tool that you can install on any computer called Wazuh. And you can set it up as a SIEM, a security information and event management tool. And if you learn how to use this tool, you can learn what it's like to actually work in a real SOC environment where you have cybersecurity professionals constantly monitoring other machines with agent software, just like I did. All right. So that's pretty much the end of this video for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.